Good evening and good to have you with us here on Mirror Now. I'm Tanvi Shukla and this is a special broadcast for the next 2 hours. We are counting it down to the news briefing by the Election Commission, where the much-awaited election dates for the upcoming assembly polls in 4 states and 1 union territory will be announced. Remember, this is a big set. States like West Bengal and Tamil Nadu are going to elections, along with Kerala, Assam, and of course elections in Puducherry, where the government has already fallen. Now, of course, there is so much to watch out for, and it's going to be interesting because while, yes, we've had a round of smaller state elections during the pandemic times, this will be the big one, a big set of elections that we will see take place during the times of a pandemic. While the vaccination drive steps up, all eyes will be on what happens in this state. So we're going to just put it in perspective for you, talk about the big numbers, the big controversies, and what's really at stake, and how it will actually impact even the national political picture. Let's also say good evening to Vinay Tiwari, our managing editor, who's joining me right now on this special broadcast. Vinay, quick comment on this. The fact that, well, we did see elections in Bihar, which was in the middle of a pandemic. But now we're looking at a time where the cases are rising, and we also have a vaccination drive that's going into a second phase. There's so much happening, plus these exciting elections.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, the pandemic wasn't really much of a dampener in Bihar elections, and I don't see that becoming a dampener even in these 5 states going to polls. But it's possibly the most exciting state elections we've had in a long, long time, simply because very unusual and very unprecedented things are happening, at least in 2 of the 5 states for sure. And there are very high stakes in the remaining 3 as well. I mean, you have a situation in West Bengal where 2-time incumbent chief minister's legacy, her own personality, which dominates the character of West Bengal, is on test. You have a resurgent BJP, which is really seriously making an attempt to dent the citadel of the TMC. And you also have Tamil Nadu, where possibly for the first time in over 3 decades, you have an election minus any of the tall leaders that state is so used to. Compared to the legacy that that state has of political leaders, EPS and OPS combined in the AIDMK and Stalin in the DMK are nowhere close to what they've inherited. So obviously, these 2 states are top of the pile in terms of the excitement. And of course, you have the big election in Assam. Because remember, for the BJP, that was a huge victory the last time around, because that was in that sense a breach of the citadel in the northeast, where they made a decisive impact, riding on the wave of the CAA and the NRC and other issues surrounding. And of course, Kerala, where the BJP has been making a concerted attempt. Whether they'll make any damage or not is a big question. But it is going to be a big ego factor and a kind of a determining factor for even somebody like Rahul Gandhi. Because remember, currently, that's the state that he's a parliamentarian from. And a lot is riding in these elections, even for the Congress in the UDF, Tanvi.
Absolutely. In fact, there's several talking points and big questions which are staring at us. And I just want to quickly put those in perspective for our viewers. And of course, over the next 2 hours, we're going to discuss these questions as we move along. The first one, of course, is the fact that whether BJP will be able to unseat Mamata Banerjee. Mamata is fighting hard, fighting fiercely to protect her turf. This is no more an election really about the left versus the TMC, but it's Mamata Banerjee on this side and the BJP on the other. And how is she really taking them on? Well, she's made the insider versus the outsider pitch really the big one. And so will Mamata's insider pitch help protect turf is the next big question. From Bengal, of course, if you turn your attention towards Tamil Nadu, now, the big challenge there will be for Palaniswamy as well as Paneerselvam together to ward off anti-incumbency and that threat that they will be staring at. Who's their challenger? Well, it's Stalin leading the DMK Congress alliance, but has he shaped up enough as a leader to be able to grab those votes and turn this around in the favor of their alliance? Sasikala is out of jail. So will the Sasikala factor make any impact at all in these elections? She's fighting hard in this way or that way to claim her role and her command over the party, but the party has completely distanced itself and says, well, she remains expelled. So those are the few things we'll watch out for in Tamil Nadu. In Kerala, will the state be able to buck the trend? Every 5 years, there is a change between LDF and UDF and LDF and UDF. Will that really change this time around? Of course, in Assam, a year ago, one of the biggest talking points was NRC and CAA and the protests that were taking place over CAA. Will those be key factors now? These issues were kind of put on the back burner in the last 1 year. Will that have an impact? And of course, what will be the impact of all of this nationally? That's something that we will be also looking at. So, in fact, Vinay, just to start off with that one, what will be the impact nationally on these elections, of these elections?
Well, look, I mean, the big test is, of course, for the BJP because, and especially in West Bengal, I mean, they've made that a prestige issue. You can see the amount of effort that they're putting into, building their party and the cadre and the narrative in West Bengal. And that's a big test for them because just in, if the BJP ends up winning the West Bengal election, that's going to be a tectonic shift in the way politics will be seen in India. Remember, you have a situation where the opposition is in a bit of a disarray currently. And West Bengal is one of those states which has held on to an opposition party for a long time and has a very charismatic and a popular state level leader as well. For a party to come and actually upstage a local, so to speak, because that's what Mamata is making it out to be now, an election between locals and outsiders, it's going to be a huge shift. Should Mamata actually come up trumps and win this election, it will be a big boost for the pure good old street level street fighting capabilities that a political party must have. Because the one thing that has happened in the last 6.5, 7 years is a lot of the opposition parties forgetting the art of fighting elections, so to speak, and not exactly hitting the streets and playing the long game that you need to in politics. I mean, some bit of this was visible in Maharashtra, where Sharad Pawar showed the signs of the old Pawar, the wily old fox that he is in politics, and ensured that the Mahagathbandhan, Mahagadi came to power. But in West Bengal, it's been a very different battle. The TMC is still the dominant party for the last 10 years or so. So in that sense, it can impact some bit of the narrative. Also remember that if the BJP ends up doing well in these elections, they will willy-nilly use it to mark it out as a referendum on a lot of the controversial decisions that have been taken in the last year or so, including the biggest controversy of the farmers' agitation. Must say that in these elections, farmers' bills are hardly a factor. I mean, they're not being talked about at all. But then BJP is a clever party and they can easily use state elections, good results to suggest that Mr. Modi remains the most popular Prime Minister and enjoys support for the overall way in which the country is being governed, Tanvi.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, to a bit though, Mamata Banerjee did take on the BJP on the farm laws, tried to make that a big issue and say how they will protect the farmers. But parties are well aware that it's not an issue that's going to resonate. They've very quickly moved on to other conversation points, whether it's inside or outside, or the legacy wars that have taken place, or even the welfare schemes. And similarly, in Tamil Nadu, where the government has in fact has come up with a series of SOPs, and some of those have been addressed to the farmers and to enable them to be able to borrow in an easy way or waive off some of their loans and try and really capture that segment. So that's what these two governments seem to be doing at this point of time. But let me go across to Aarti Subramaniam, and Aarti has a list of about 10 key pointers to again talk about why these elections will be significant, apart from the fact that there are 4 big states and 1 union territory. Aarti, take it away.
Well, there are 4 states and they're very interesting and unique in their own way. These are proper hardcore political battles being fought. Let's start off with West Bengal, where the BJP has almost dethroned the left as the serious challenger, the serious contender to the TMC. Who would have ever thought this could have happened a few years ago, that the BJP was going to be fighting neck to neck with TMC, something that even Mamata Banerjee has said that this is a battle between the TMC and the BJP. That brings us to the second point, and that's the relevance of the left in West Bengal. Bengal has been a complete citadel for the left. parties, and after they were dethroned and after Mamata Banerjee came into power, they were still number 2. But today they've been relegated to 3rd position, where they're in an alliance with the Congress, and the TMC is almost wooing them, saying fight with us instead of fighting against us and fight against the BJP. So this is a strange situation that we find yourself in, where the left, once the dominant poll party in West Bengal, is now relegated to 3rd position. It is also going to be a test for Mamata Banerjee and her appeasement politics. Remember, Jai Shri Ram has become such a crucial part. It's become a fulcrum almost of the BJP's attack on the Mamata Banerjee government, and this is obviously a very deliberate strategy to try and create that wedge and emphasize once again for them to reiterate these charges against the Mamata Banerjee government that they are pro-minority, anti-majority, and to create that divide. Let's go to Tamil Nadu, which is the other big state, one of the most interesting elections that Tamil Nadu has ever seen in recent times. It is going to be the first without Jayalalitha and Karunanidhi. These two towering personalities have dominated Tamil Nadu politics for decades and decades, and now there is almost this leadership vacuum. There is this, the absence of one big player is going to have such a crucial impact, and that's why we also see these legacy battles being fought within the AIDMK to fill in the shoes that Jayalalitha is really going to leave. Sasikala factor, that brings us to, of course, the Sasikala factor. So far, she's kept her cards close to her chest. We don't know what she's going to do. She's not really made any big political statement. But on Jayalalitha's birthday, she said we should all unite to fight the DMK. So that was a significant comment. But when she says that, does she mean that she's going to assume role in the AIDMK? Because as far as TTV Dinakaran, her nephew, has said, there is no question of a merger between the AMMK and the AIDMK. So what role is Sasikala going to play? Is she going to split votes of the AIDMK if the AMMK decides to contest, is what is going to be very significant. There are also a number of smaller parties in Tamil Nadu, and the most interesting one is that of Kamala Hassan. They haven't done well at all in the Lok Sabha elections. They haven't lived up to the promise and the hype that Kamala Hassan was talking about. Interestingly, we would have also seen Rajinikanth in action in this election, but that was not to be, as he pulled out in January this year. So how will Kamal Hassan do? Will he be able to make the transition from a successful actor to a Neta? Will be an interesting part to see. Again, down south, Kerala is going to be an interesting battle as well, because it's going to be key for Rahul Gandhi and Congress. Remember, the Congress is in an odd situation where they are fighting in an alliance with the left in West Bengal, but they're fighting against the left in Kerala. So it's going to be an interesting battle. In fact, Kerala is one of the states where the Congress is in a position where they can actually put forward a challenge. So this is going to be crucial for them as well. Again, the relevance of the left depends on a win in Kerala. As you were saying, the left and the Congress, it's been an LDF, UDF flip-flop all through the years. So can they buck that trend? It's going to be an important challenge for them to overcome. Going to Assam, there is, of course, questions about the CA and the NRC. After widespread protests in Assam, parts of the state were excluded from the ambit of the CA. Has that done enough to assuage the people? Is something that is going to be on test. And finally, for the Congress, if it really has to throw up a challenge to the BJP in Assam once its stronghold, how is it going to do so in the absence of stalwart Tarun Gogoi? These are all the interesting questions. This is going to be an election certainly to watch out for these factors and actually many more than we.
Yes, there are some of the factors and many, many more, and it's going to be an exciting ride from here on through the summer. That's for sure, Aarti. Thanks so much for really putting that in perspective. Let's also say good evening to Madhvan Narayanan, senior journalist who's joining us right now. Let's begin with Bengal, Vinay, and that's for many that would be the most exciting so far. Difficult to say what happens next, but the first point that Aarti was making, that say a few years ago, nobody would have thought that the second biggest contender and challenger party would be the BJP and not the left.
Hear me? That is correct, but I have just one small difference of opinion on that particular issue. In West Bengal, TMC is left 2.0. There is no difference between the two. In fact, there is a history behind why and how that evolved. I mean, if you remember, left, of course, dominated that particular state for almost 25 to 30 years, largely bearing out of the kind of revolutions or the peasant movements and the other things that were seen in the 60s and the 70s. But once the left started undergoing a little bit of a change, once the collapse of USSR happened, the weakening of the left began, and then came Buddhadev Bhattacharyaji's reign in West Bengal, who was a way more progressive and how should I say, a more centrist left leader than Jyoti Basu, for instance. And at that point of time, Mamata Banerjee had already started going out into the people and saying, I am the real left, because she realized that Buddhadev was in some ways trying to dilute the original hardline left position, and she had already started appropriating the left legacy, and that's possibly the most aggressive thing that she did ahead of the 2011 victory for the first time. I mean, when the Nandigram agitation or the Shingur agitation happened, she capitalized on that. So for me, the TMC is left 2.0, and if you know on the ground, Tanvi, a large section of the left cadre already is now part of the TMC, so to speak.
Yeah.
And in fact, the success of the BJP's campaigning there, to a large extent, is born out of this fact that they realized that there is now a political vacuum in reverse. It's a very unusual phenomenon from the rest of the country, where the BJP is the dominant party and there is a vacuum in the opposition. In West Bengal, the BJP has come in and filled in the opposition gap because they saw a vacuum because of the complete elimination of the left, so to speak, or crossover to the TMC. So in that sense, for me, the left is not really even a factor in this election. I don't think Mamata has even bothered so much about that. The real battle is, as Aarti rightly said, between the BJP and the TMC.
Yes, and so it was interesting when she sent across that message, Madhavan, that the Congress and the left and the TMC, everybody should combine. All anti-BJP parties should just combine to stop the BJP from gaining strength in Bengal. To which the left actually turned around and said, well, it's you who allowed them to come and grow in numbers. So now you deal with this problem. That was very interesting for me personally.
Yeah, it is very interesting, Tanvi, but let's take a deep breath because I think there is more to it than what Vinay just said. Although I would sort of agree with him on the fact that Mamata is more left than CPM in some way. But Mamata represents the populist left and not the ideological left. There is a structural difference between these two left. The trouble with populism is that, or the advantage electorally, is that it's swayed by sentiment, personality, rather than issues. Okay? So what does that mean? It means that Mamata is trying to actually not be a leftist in an ideological sense, but a populist Bengali leader with a sense of pride. And she's invoking Bengali pride, which is a potent factor. Joy Bangla versus Jai Sri Ram could be one way of summing up this year's coming election. Also, I want to bring out something very structural. If it was really an issue of left versus right, why would so many people defect from the TMC to the BJP, including senior leaders? So that brings us to the fact that many political parties increasingly function like fast-moving consumer goods companies.
Yes.
So, which basically means that they are looking for the same distributors to sell the same toothpaste. So the local workers become extremely important, and anybody disgruntled and or overambitious is a potential defection case. And both parties rely on the local machinery to deliver on the basis of some of the local good work or popularity or goodwill that might have. Alongside that, you might add the source of celebrities and media hype, and you really don't know what's going on. For me, BJP's success in Bengal is, as of now, more of an issue of mind share than market share, to extend the analogy of the business, consumer goods business, which means that we haven't yet seen BJP significantly make inroads in terms of number of seats in Bengal, but they have positioned themselves very well because there is a vacuum created by the decline of CPM, the marginalization of Congress, and the anti-incumbency factor of the TMC. But if Bengali pride and a bit of good work done by Mamata, all said and done, populism also carries with it some of these developmental planks of the kind that Arvind Kejriwal and Mamata Banerjee have been practicing, and it does have positive effects. So it is a complex scenario. in which I think ideology is becoming less relevant.
Yeah.
More relevant are populist schemes. More relevant are issues of pride and certain ennui among the voters, which can result in their falling for one kind of hype over another.
Yes, in
This is
fact,
what,
the point that you made about about identity and about pride, the word that you used was pride, Vinay, and that's usually a game that we know BJP plays very well, and Mamata. But in this round, it's Mamata Banerjee who's actually taken it on first and said, "Okay, I'm going to lead with this pitch."
Oh, absolutely. Look, I mean, I couldn't agree with Madhav more. I completely agree with him. With just one, two additional points that I needed to make. I think one has to also accept that one of the reasons why we saw a narrative of so-called exodus, and I'm using the word so-called exodus from the TMC, or a little bit of a narrative that people are leaving that party, it's not as straightforward as it appears. A lot of the people, in fact, more than half the people who have actually left the party in the last, couple of months or so, are people who would have been denied tickets in any case. And one of the bigger reasons why there is some amount of disillusionment or some amount of disgruntlement in the party is the rising influence of Abhishek Banerjee in the party as well. And that has created a little, and if you remember, Mamata Banerjee has now hired the greatest election strategist, quote unquote, that we've seen, where he goes from state to state, trying to influence the elections of different parties. That input has played a big part because he's got a very typical template of how he goes about doing his work. There is a huge detailed survey that is done in every constituency. There is a report card that is prepared for every potential candidate. And that particular report is then submitted directly to the party supremo, no matter which state he's operating in. And that does have an influence. And in this case too, Subhendu Adhikari was in that sense a bit of a setback for the TMC. But there are at least 3 people or MLAs who left in the past couple of months, would have been denied tickets in any case, and they were showing rebellious tendencies even in the past. But I completely agree with him. A lot of what you see is BJP's game plan is also narrative building. There is a more disproportionate mind space in the national media that the party enjoys. How much of that actually translates, within Bengal, especially outside of Kolkata, is still to be put on test. But remember, what you can't take away from the BJP is their remarkable strategic sense. I mean, they do go fairly minute in the way they target certain communities. I mean, there has been since the Matua community seems to be in a bit of a division, the family is divided. There are different complications that they have tried to introduce just to unsettle Mamata a little bit, and I think they've slightly succeeded in doing that.
Yes, absolutely. But, if anybody is ready to take on a big challenge, it would be Mamata Banerjee. I request both of you to just stay on with me. We're also looking towards the Election Commission's news briefing. They're just setting it up. I do know that the CEC has arrived there. We're going to take a very short break and come right back before the news conference begins.